It's Around the House. On this episode of Around the House.
If you see their reviews gradually getting worse and worse and worse, and more recently they've had some really bad ones, that is a sign that this contractor's probably having financial difficulties. And, it's just a matter of time before the music stops and you're left without a chair to sit in. And, that it's going to land in somebody's unfortunate lap when things finally implode on that contractor. So that's something that we always encourage people to look for. And we look for it for them if they, would like for us to do so.
That is so smart, because how the traditional contractor goes under is that they're taking, they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So,
right.
When your final check is paying, that you're writing to them is actually paying for the next job.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And they're just trying to pay it forward. And like you said, that's a great analogy when the music stops.
When it comes to remodeling or renovating your home, there is a lot to know, and we have got you covered. This is Around the House.
Welcome to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me. I'm Eric G. This hour is brought to you by our friends at Monument Grills. If you're looking for that cool barbecue for under $900, check them out at monumentgrills.com. And today we have got an education for you. It doesn't matter if you're a homeowner, a builder, remodeler, this is all going to apply. We have Andy Wyman, construction law attorney and owner of Wyman Legal Solutions, and co-owner of the Master Construction Advisors down in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. Welcome to Around the House, brother.
Eric, great, man. Thanks. It's really good to be here. It's nice to see you.
Man, it's nice to see you. And this is such a hot topic. And I love chatting with people like you about this stuff, because usually I'm out there waving the flag alone going, there's a lot that you need to know with this stuff. And it doesn't matter if you're starting your own little first remodeling project and you got a couple contractors showing over, you're building a house, or if you're a brand new remodeler, it's important for everybody.
It is. And you know what? Homeowners are at such a disadvantage. They just don't know what they don't know. And they're in such need of protection. And they can really, Florida is one of those states also where they make it a little more difficult to protect the consumer. So it's really it's motivating for me, and it's motivating for my staff here to see what we can do to best protect people to have, the projects of the dreams, the ones that they're envisioning in their heads when they start.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And from the builder side and the residential homeowner side, there's a lot of homeowners out there that think that they can manage a construction project like they do their Amazon account. Oh, I don't like it, I'm just going to send it back. It's a whole different ballgame when it comes to contracting. And the first thing that I always say is, what's in the contract?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the two, with the work that we do, historically, we've done a lot of litigation where we represent owners or contractors in a lawsuit. And they, for a homeowner, you don't want to be in a lawsuit. It's not where you want to end up. But when these people come to us and their project has gone completely sideways already in terms of it's taking too long, it's costing too much, the work isn't good, maybe they hired an unlicensed contractor, it's, all those things you really hear about. The two mistakes I find that homeowners make more than anything else is they don't know how to vet and hire a good contractor. They don't even know what questions to ask. And they don't sign a contract that protects them if they've signed one at all. And I think what a lot of contractors and owners kind of tend to think is these contracts are like a win-lose. Like either you're going to have a good contract or I'm going to have the good contract. But it doesn't have to be that way. And a good contract is going to help facilitate the project and be a win-win for everybody.
Well, and it's and for both sides, that's what legally has to be performed, is what's in that contract. So if a contractor writes down remodel kitchen per plans, and there's nothing written on the plans, or the plans aren't attached,
that's absolutely right. It's, down to, I always tell homeowners, if you were promised it and you are expecting it, make sure it's written into the contract with in detail. Otherwise, you can't expect to get it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I see this so many times. I'm in a lot of social media groups where I'm commenting and things like that. And, the first thing when somebody's mad, it's taken too long. It's not what I thought. The cabinets didn't show up. The tub's wrong. And the first question I ask is, well, you might think it's wrong. What's your contract say? Because it's just, there's no winning when you get into the lawsuit game. It's just, how much is it going to cost you? How much is it going to lose? And I've never really seen, and you've seen this way more than I have, but trying to sue an unlicensed contractor seems to be even a losing battle that's hard to win.
Absolutely. Because not only, I mean, even if you invest the money you need to get to the point where you've won and a court says you're entitled to some amount of money back, good luck trying to collect it. And so, you get a piece of paper that's, I say it's not even worth the paper that it's printed on. So, we like to, anyone who's got those kinds of problems, we try to put the most pressure we can on the unlicensed contractor to do what the client wants without bringing them through the litigation process. Because, once they're in court, they've almost already lost.
Yeah, I've had with my 30 years of design and construction background, I've been construction witnesses before, for, remodels and things like that, where the attorney pays me to come in and give my 2 cents on it. And seeing it from that side, I've never been sued in a construction thing like that before, but seeing it from that side of thing, wow, it's absolutely incredible how this stuff goes.
Yeah. And I've told people that whether you're fighting over, $10,000 or $10 million, I mean, each individual defect has its own, but, you have your burden of proving it, and you need an expert, someone like you, to come in and give that objective opinion as to something that doesn't meet a standard of care or what was promised in the contract. And so, the expense in litigating those things is often, it's too prohibitive to make a court a worthwhile, endeavor for most people.
So what do you recommend? Homeowners out there, hey, I'm going to let's just go a bathroom remodel. We'll just pick something pretty common. Yeah, I'm going to do a bathroom model. What do you recommend? And I know, you're an attorney, but this isn't legal advice for everybody out there. We'll put that thing out there, right?
Thanks.
But, it's one of those things that, what do you recommend to people out there when they're trying to start that process of hiring a contractor?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is you want to do your own homework before you reach out to a contractor in the first place. You want to get an idea about what it is you want and have a budget in mind and know the amount of money that you want to spend. When it comes to getting a contractor in place, doing a thorough, your due diligence on a contractor is super important. I mean, there are red flags that can very easily be located, or that you should, from what you're observing, trust your gut and follow and avoid certain contractors when you see certain things. Obviously, the most important things, you want someone who's licensed, you want someone who's insured. Those are some of the basics. Everybody says that. Not everybody knows where to go to find that information. And so, our state in Florida, we've got the Department of Business and Professional Regulations where you could go and do these kinds of searches. But, you're going to want to know whether or not there's been any license complaints against that contractor. You want to also pay attention to whether or not this contractor is keeping his or her promises to you during this period of time where they're trying to win you over, because how they act and behave in that circumstance is going to be magnified tenfold within a project. So, for example, if they tell you, "Hey, I'll be to you at 5:00 on Thursday, and we'll talk through what you want," and then it's 5:30, it's 6:00. They show up at 6:00. They didn't give you the call in advance to tell you that they're going to be late. That's a red flag. Like, that's how this person acts and communicates. So during the project, when you want to know why someone is not showing up at your house on Monday as promised, you've kind of have seen what type of person you're dealing with. So you want to make sure that, you have someone who you can rely upon what they say. They're following through. They're giving you they're following through on what they promised to you. They're showing up when they say they should. They're delivering to you proposals when they say they should. And follow up and pay close attention to how they communicate. There are a lot of builders, a lot of contractors. I mean, they'll put a real full court press on you to try to get you to sign up really quick without the opportunity to look at a contract. Or, you know what, we don't need a contract. That's a big warning sign. Any contractor where you need a permit and they tell you don't want to use, we don't have to use a permit because of how much extra time and it'll take and money it'll cost. You want to avoid those contractors for sure. So, communication is super important. At the heart of basically every dispute in this kind of circumstance is really someone who's not communicating well, or maybe two people who aren't communicating well. And as a homeowner, if you've never done this before, you don't really know what to expect. And I get this when people come to my law firm for the first time. They've maybe never hired a lawyer. They don't know what to expect. You know what? As the lawyer, it's my job to sort of be your tour guide and tell you how this is going to work. Here's what's going to happen next, because I do this all day, every day. Contractors has the same opportunity to really impress the client and the owner with their knowledge of the process and get the owner comfortable with what they're about to go through. But not a lot of contractors take advantage of that. I mean, it's a real great, it's almost like a marketing opportunity you have if you handle it the right way as the contractor.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is the honeymoon period, as I call it. So if they're not on their best behavior and doing everything on the schedule that they've set up, or, hey, I got to do this, I have a meeting here. Those are all warning signs. And hey guys, it's Eric G from Around the House Show. Is your barbecue just barely holding on and you need to upgrade it for the big game? We got you covered. Monument Grills was founded by three good friends in Atlanta, Georgia that wanted high-quality, durable grills inspired by iconic monuments. The grills are created for the person who loves to cook and are built to last and to enhance your outdoor cooking experience. What I love is that they are the best quality grills for under $900. So check out the American Gas Grill experts at monumentgrills.com. I bet you'll love to cook on one like I do. Check out the new standard in outdoor cooking at monumentgrills.com. Are you a contractor, landscaper, or small business owner? Are you tired of renting or pulling that worn-out trailer to the job site? Is that really the best look for your company? It's time to up your game and check out the trailers from Summit Trailer. If you want the highest quality trailer you can own, they are proudly made right here in Oregon with a dealer network all along the West Coast. What I love about my Summit trailer is that it's a dump trailer that was designed to work. I can load it up without having to worry about if it's going to be able to lift the load, and it pulls like a dream. This was built to work. So it doesn't matter if you want a dump trailer like mine or a deck over flatbed, tilt bed, or utility trailer. They got a trailer that'll fit your needs. Invest in your business with something you'll feel proud of, pulling up to any job site or your next project. Check out the best trailer in the West at summittrailermfg.com. Check out the dealer locator and find your nearest dealer at summittrailermfg.com. You know, it's funny. I wish that we had a better thing across the United States for contractor licensing, because I get it's a state thing, but some states go, oh, no, it's a city thing. You know what I mean? So you get up into the Northeast and it's like, well, I got my City of Philadelphia contractor's license and I have my this county one, and it gets a lot harder. I'm in a state here in Oregon where we have the Oregon CCB, and they, from a consumer point of view, they're awesome. I could literally call them up on the phone. They answer, and I'm going to make up a name and go, hey, I'm thinking about having ABC Construction do something for me. And they go, hey, let's pull up their file and let's take a look. And they guide you through it, which is awesome.
That's great. That is awesome.
You know, because that's you can get on a phone with an expert there and they go, well, they've had 2 complaints, but they've been around for 34 years. So that's actually below average.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's really great when you've got that kind of board who's, willing to put in the extra effort to protect the homeowners like that.
It's not perfect, but it's such an easy thing in our state that I just go, just call them, get on the phone. They'll answer. And then you can find out where they're like, hey, wait a minute, this guy's been, closed for 2 years. And again, we're one of the states, Washington, you get into California, a lot of these states that have these bigger programs. It seems that when their bond and insurance goes off, within minutes, they've got it flagged and their license is pulled, which is also great.
Yeah, and one other thing a lot of people don't, at least down here in Florida, which is a big problem, is you get folks who are unlicensed going around trying to sign up jobs, and they've got some licensed person in the background who is pulling permits for them. And so I'm not sure how it works in Oregon or other states, but in Florida, licenses are given to individuals. And an individual, for a company to do contracting, the individual has to qualify the company. It requires an application to the state and a legitimate connection between the license holder and the company. So when you hire a company and that company doesn't have a qualifying agent, a licensed person, they're unlicensed contracting, even if they've got their buddy in the background pulling the permits for your job. And that's a violation of the person who holds the permit. It's a violation of their, permitting status and regulations. So, that's cool. and that's the worst. That's, it's one thing when you got unlicensed guys running around. It's another when people who with the licenses don't realize the jeopardy that they're putting their own license and the profession in by allowing these unlicensed people to go out there and undercut you because they're going to be cheaper, because they're going to do worse work. And, it just lowers the bar all around.
I've seen people out there that were former employees, right, of a contractor, still have the business card, and they're out running around still trying to sell jobs under the name, but they're just taking the money themselves. And then they go start up like an LLC where they slightly change the name. So when they write the check out, they can put it in their account. And I mean, nothing surprises me anymore with the level of that handful of, illegal contractors out there that are trying to take the money out of hardworking people that are just taking them to the cleaners.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things, I think this is really important is to understand who the license holder is and to get some sort of background on that person. You certainly want to know if they've got any type of, criminal background, bankruptcies, lawsuits, all of that. So, I mean, there's a lot of information that's out there if you know where to look and if you know where to find it, look, so this is actually a service we provide for homeowners down here is we will vet contractors for you. We go through all of this. Cool. We search their insurance. We do all of that. We look through, one thing you can do yourself and you want to look for is take a look at their reviews online. Take a look at whether it's Google or Yelp or whatever it is. If you see their reviews gradually getting worse and worse and worse, and more recently they've had some really bad ones, that is a sign that this contractor is probably having financial difficulties. And, it's just a matter of time before the music stops and you're left without a chair to sit in. And, that it's going to land in somebody's unfortunate lap when things finally implode on that contractor. So that's something that we always encourage people to look for. And we look for it for them if they, would like for us to do so.
That is so smart because how the traditional contractor goes under is that they're taking they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So, when your final check is paying that you're writing to them is actually paying for the next job.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And they're just trying to pay it forward. And like you said, that's a great analogy. When the music stops and you're the project, you're in trouble.
That's exactly right. So,
and right now we're into, I think that looking at construction right now, at least on the West Coast, we're kind of in one of those 2007, 2008, 2011, 12 areas right now where things have slowed down a little bit. And, people with the election, this is kind of another one of those election things. So again, it's one of those times that you got to be really careful because after booms, you see more of the contractors go down because they've been flying. They're not watching their books. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, I just paid my bills and I'm way short.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so, I mean, it's a real tough thing. And here in Florida, we've had a few hurricanes blow through here over the last 12 months. We got contractors who are coming in from other states, which is fine. We need the help. I mean, we really do need the manpower for sure. But, you just got to be extra careful and diligent about who you're hiring and making sure that they're authorized to do, the work. And then one final thing we ask, the owners, so we encourage the owners to do before they hire a contractor, you ask for a reference. And, of course, the contractor will give you a couple of happy clients that they had. But there are, we've got this list of 25 questions that we give to people as a free resource of questions they should be asking their contractors. And it's not just, hey, did they do good work? I mean, you want to know, were you given a dedicated person to address questions or concerns with? Did you ever catch them in a lie? How did they do completion time versus what they promised? Did they show respect for your home? Did they cover the floors when they were, traipsing through there with bringing old material out and new material in? Did they respect the rules of your home? And all the, how is the rest of their communication? All of these things that you may not think to even ask somebody, but are important to you as a homeowner that you're going to want to know. So, that's super important too.
Great stuff. One of the things that I think gets missed as well, even in a good contract that I've seen that's just, and you're going to smile and laugh at this, but payment schedule, down payment. When's the money changing hands?
Right. And that's important both ways. I mean, it's important. So, we try to encourage our homeowners, you kind of want to see the payments on sort of a bell curve, right? You've got 10 or 20% at the beginning, 10 or 20% at the end, everything else kind of in the middle. You don't want to give away too much leverage at the front end, but you do need to make sure money is flowing so the job runs. From a contractor perspective, I've seen, here's a great example, remainder of payment when job is complete. What does that mean?
That's a gray area.
What is job complete? Like, I don't know what that means, right? Like, does that mean when it's passed inspection? Does that mean when you finish my punch list? What does that mean? So that just all this gray area that you could spend $100,000 litigating if you really wanted to, that you shouldn't have to. And so clarity is in and around the payment.
We covered here. You probably saw this on the news, and maybe it was a national story, but we covered it here on the show here a couple of years back. And my friend Amber, if she's listening, she's just shaking her head right now going, okay, I'm going on the radio again with this. But she was in Colorado
Yes, the
And
guy
she
who
hired-
went in and knocked out the I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay,
I used that
so
as a
those
case
were-
study for something I did once.
Okay, so
Awesome.
she's a friend of mine. Those were friends of the show that went out and put the house back together for her for free.
Awesome.
So, I mean, we did a radio interview basically live that we recorded as they were working and setting tile out there in the house, which was cool. So it was fun to see, but you know, that contractor who showed up early, she wasn't home, didn't have legal access to the house because she had notified him not to come in there because there was a dispute over the quality of workmanship and other stuff. And he said, "Hey, I want to get paid." Came over and decided to, for the people that are listening, repossess the bathroom remodel with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And so he came in and started swinging. And I'll be the first to say this looked like a blind 7-year-old did their first tile job. It was just, and I apologize to the blind 7-year-olds that are out there. I'm not doing justice, but I don't want to insult you here, but holy smokes.
Yeah.
This was one of the worst tile jobs I've ever seen. And the end result, he ended up going to jail for that. And his wife ended up going on probation, but that was jail time for him.
And it should be.
It should be. And that was not the only time he's done this. And now I've heard he's left the state and is out doing business someplace else. But, you know, that's one of those things.
Yeah.
He's on probation for a while. And obviously that is the worst case scenario for many people. Water quality in your home is a hot topic right now. Everybody's talking about it. And are you worried about what you're drinking and you want to fix it once and for all? Are you tired of spending all that money on bottled water or a filter system that is expensive to run and maintain? I have a great solution for you. It's time you stop the damage and the worrying and check out Freedom Water Systems. They just changed their name from King Water Filters. This water treatment system takes care of every drop of water that comes into your house, uses no salt, no expensive filters to change, and it's made right here in the USA. Plus, it can prevent hard water scale. They have a solution for just about any water issue. To find out more information, head to freedomwatersystems.com, and if you use promo code ERIC-23, it will give you $1,000 off MSRP with a discount on the filter that will resolve those water quality issues. And if you need help, they have experts right on staff here in the United States to help you with your water quality issues. Don't miss out on this amazing sale on a product made right here in the USA at freedomwatersystems.com. That's freedomwatersystems.com. And don't forget, promo code ERIC-23.
If I could dream.
Are you a small business owner? Has business slowed down? How is your website? Does it look like it's seen better days and those are behind it? It's time you fix it with SciPipe Designs. My friend Johnny, that you've heard on this show each week, yeah, that's him playing in the background, is my go-to web designer that understands how to get your website and web traffic where it needs to be. And that's making you money. If you want personalized service at a much lower price than those big companies out there, check him out at sitehypedesigns.com. If you want a rockstar website to turn your business around, you gotta hire the rockstar. Just wait till you see my website coming soon. It's absolutely amazing. Contact Johnny at sitehypedesigns.com before it costs you even more money. Let's get that business turned around.
I'm never gonna linger by the wayside. Not this time.
But, you know, I felt bad as a single mom trying to navigate a remodel, and this big guy's in there swinging a sledgehammer on the project. That's as bad as it gets.
It totally is. And I mean, that just underscores the importance of picking the right contractor at the start of your job. You know, I mean, even if you don't even know where to turn, and it's not, you know, it's not enough that, hey, they did a good job for my friend. I mean, that's okay. That's one box you could check. But, you know, if you call your local builders association to get the name of somebody, if you really don't even know where to start, you know, calling the local builders association, finding those contractors that and remodelers that are, you know, have a membership with the National Association of Home Builders or the Florida Home Builder Association. You know, I mean, it's at least it's some credibility, and it's you'll know it's someone who at least cares about their reputation and standing in the community enough to have these sort of strategic alliances with the right groups of people, and that right there says something about the quality of the person you're dealing with.
Yeah, and if you're doing maybe a kitchen or bathroom remodel, or you're doing windows and doors, go into the showroom and ask around and go, hey, who's your favorite contractor around here? Because again, the ones that pay their bills and are the easiest to work with from the showroom status, you're a third of the way there already.
That's great advice. Absolutely.
Because I tell you what, it's just the ones that come in and start screaming and, I'll pay you next week. That's the one you're trying to avoid. And it's such a small percentage, but they do so much damage to the community when they do that.
They really do. They do.
So I don't know if you see this down there a lot, but up here, we have on older homes. This is another one that gets to be big up here. If you've got a house in our area before 1978, they have to be certified for working in a house that potentially could have lead paint. And that's another one of those. So if you've got a 1976 house in my area here in Washington, Oregon, they have to be a lead certified.
Interesting.
And then of course we have, which is kind of cool in Oregon, at least where I'm at, they have to have all the paperwork. They have to have the, asbestos, lead, all these addendums as part of the contract. So I always say, hey, reach out to your local, licensing board and say, hey, what needs to be in the contract for our state? Because it seems like the guys that follow those rules tend to be more of a rule biter anyway.
Yeah, and that's that's a great point. So, I mean, in every state, I know Florida has its own disclosures it requires in the contract. And to me, I mean, that's another sort of checkpoint. If you're given a contract from a contractor, I mean, does it look like a professional document? Does it look like a document that was drafted by a teenager or something? You get that guy who left his other employer and he uses their contract and kind of Frankensteins it together with something he found on Google, or he had ChatGPT prepare for him, and it's internally inconsistent. The margins are off. There's spelling mistakes. When you see something like that, that's another red flag. That shows you how much attention to detail they pay on something that is supposed to be a super important document, and they're either not giving the right value and respect to a contract, or that's just the level of attention to detail they give everything. So either way, it's not the contractor you want.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, here's one of the biggest panics that I see from homeowners. They're in the middle of the project and all of a sudden they get a lien release that shows up in the mail. And they're like, what is this? What's going on? Liens are an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah. Liens are, I mean, most homeowners, they don't even understand what's happening, what they get. So in Florida, if you have a direct relationship with the contractor, the contractor could lien your home. For a subcontractor, before they could do something like that, they have to give a notice to owner at the beginning of their work to let them know we're on the job, we expect to get paid, and there's a proper way to make payments as long as you've gotten that notice. So they get that notice and they kind of freak out, and the notice itself is not recorded in the public records, and they don't understand the significance of it. What I try to, what I don't like seeing is when the subcontractors feel like giving that notice is an aggressive move and they don't want to do it. And then at the end of the job, when they're not getting paid, then all of a sudden they're concerned. Well, that says, no, look, if you do the notice at the front end of the job, it's not an aggressive move. It's good business. And anyone doing business with you who knows what it is going to know that you're doing business and trying to do it the right way. You're protecting your right to get paid, which I'm sure your wife and kids at home would really appreciate. So, that's just the right way to do business. And I always encourage the contractors we work with. Absolutely. It's a part of your standard operating procedure. You send these things out to make sure you get paid. And at the time you send it, there's not a dispute usually. There's no, but it's how you just protect yourself. And it's not an aggressive move. It's the right thing to do.
But for the contractors and subcontractors out there, if you were to give a simple call to the homeowner and explain that something's coming up the mail, might save you some headaches.
Yeah, it's the communication thing again we were talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, that is at the source of all the disputes.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah. And it just gets absolutely wilder from that. And, what is your take? I've run into a lot of problems with projects that people completed. Someone, usually the contractor, didn't ever get the sign off or the final inspection from the, local governing body, whoever you pulled the permit through. Yeah. They never got that signed off. So everything's done, but it's still an open hanging permit out there that can cause you massive problems down the road. What do you recommend for homeowners like that? Because it's such a big part, but it's a little piece of paperwork that just seems to get missed, which can totally sideline the next project down the road.
Yeah, and not only that, it could sideline your ability to sell the house because that will come up on a title search. The fact that you've got this open permit that needs to be closed, and so I mean, as soon as you realize that that's happened, the less time that goes by, the better. You need to reach back out to the contractor to get them to take care of it. Now, at that point, contractor's been paid his money. He's on to the next job. He's probably not really, in a hurry to get this thing done for you. And that's where, some additional pressure from a lawyer can get this done, where the contractor realizes you're taking it seriously. I mean, that does, keeping these permits open and not closing them is, technically can be a violation of certain of the licenses that they get, your state license. So, I mean, there are some buttons that I know how to press as a lawyer that will get them to snap their attention back to you and get this taken care of for you. But otherwise, if for some reason the contractor they may be out of the picture. I mean, in which case, you're going to have to, go to the city, go to the county, whoever issued it, and find out what your other options are. Sometimes, sometimes they let you move a permit over from the contractor to the owner, and then you just have to get some other contractor on board real briefly to just kind of finish out the work that might not be done, or, help you process through the rest of it. It shouldn't be too difficult, but you got to call the county or the city.
I had one here about 5 years ago in my design business that I went out. We started designing up the new kitchen. They were doing a kitchen remodel. This had been an addition 20 plus years ago. Reputable company in the area had done the addition and the new kitchen. They wanted an upgrade. Went in and did it. Contractor went down. Go talk to the city to make sure on the permits. And they went, they never closed out that original one. So you now have to bring that space up to what was 2017, 2018 building code. Oh. So they were going to have to drywall come down, insulate, all these things. And it made the kitchen remodel really not possible within their budget, because they were going to have to spend another $40,000 or $50,000 in the entire addition just to bring it up to what would be the current code to get it signed off.
Yeah. Wow. That's some of these stories are just, it's sad for these homeowners and what they go through sometimes when they're not hiring the right people to, with the right qualifications.
Yeah. And it's another thing here that there's a big hole here in real estate that I see, and it comes up in remodeling. And I've had it happen. It was happening there probably once a year with unpermitted projects. So what would happen was, and let's say you got that 1820s house that maybe it says it's 1,200 square feet, but they finished the basement and the attic, and it's, on the tax rate, it's now says it's 2,800 square feet. They go to pull a permit to do the remodel, cabinets are ordered, whatever. They're getting ready to start it. First inspector shows up and goes, this second floor isn't on our plan. So we have to treat this entire floor like it's a new build or a new remodel. Right. And it's something that I tell even people when they're buying homes, go talk to your building department. Don't pay attention to the tax person, because if you told them it's an 8,000 square foot house, they'd be happy to tax you for that. But talk to your building department before and make sure that number adds up to what the listing is, so you get what you're paying for.
Absolutely. So the unpermitted work, I mean, it travels with the property. So even whether you knew or you didn't know that work was done without a permit on your property, it becomes your fault if the music stops and you're holding the property. And, in Florida, at least, the owners of someone who sells a piece of property who knows that there's been work done without a permit, that's something that's material that they need to disclose, whether they did the work or not. They don't often, but, you should know to ask the right questions, certainly if you're a homeowner buying a new home. But that becomes a problem you inherit. And so you definitely, again, doing your due diligence and asking those questions. Great advice to go down to the, check the building, the permit records for the property before you buy it.
Yeah, because all it takes is that enclosed porch that's now the kitchen, right? And you go to do a kitchen remodel and they're like, this square footage doesn't exist. So we're treating this like a new addition. And now that $80,000 remodel just turned into a $160,000 remodel and the budget's gone.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. What other things are you seeing out there, Andy? There's so many disputes that we see now with between homeowners and contractors. Nothing ever surprises me anymore, it seems, just because of the technology and all the new stuff that we're putting in homes these days. It seems like it's just compounding the issues in the communication process.
Yeah, I mean, look, as it is, emails, texts, all of that stuff. I mean, they're so easy to misinterpret a tone. You can't read a tone into it, right? So, I mean, it becomes a little dicey to really understand what someone is trying to, relay to you. What do you mean? They put it all in caps. Are they yelling at me? What is it? So like but I mean, as far as the disputes are concerned, what's really confusing to a lot of homeowners is they get a price given to them in a contract and they don't really understand whether or not that's a fixed price. Is that just sort of like an understanding of what the estimate's likely to be based on a cost plus and here's your allowances and what's going to happen if, and then what happens if, by the time my contractor goes to buy my cabinets, the price is like 30% higher than what we all thought it was going to be at the beginning. And then they get hit with these surprises because it wasn't explained to them at the front and they don't know what to expect. And so that has been, especially once COVID came through, those sort of price escalations were a big issue that cropped up, for a while in between the owners and the contractors.
If I could dream.
Are you a small business owner? Has business slowed down? How is your website? Does it look like it's seen better days and those are behind it? It's time you fix it with SciPipe Designs. My friend Johnny that you've heard on this show each week, yeah, that's him playing in the background, is my go-to web designer that understands how to get your website and web traffic where it needs to be, and that's making you money. If you want personalized service at a much lower price than those big companies out there, check him out at sitehypedesigns.com. If you want a rockstar website to turn your business around, you gotta hire the rockstar. Just wait till you see my website coming soon. It's absolutely amazing. Contact Johnny at sitehypedesigns.com before it costs you even more money. Let's get that business turned around.
No, I'm never gonna linger by the wayside. Not this time.
Hey guys, it's Eric G from Around the House Show. We'd really appreciate your help with some awesome 5-star reviews on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you tune into your podcast. Big thanks everyone, and a shout out to our dedicated listeners of Around the House. Man, you brought up a great one, and that's change orders. And I'm watching a case right now that I'm just kind of eyeballing quietly. I like it when I can watch it online and see what's going on. But I'm watching them with a design firm in Seattle, and the project price has tripled after the contract for this big remodel by hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? But the scope hasn't changed. And so now it's full on lawsuit, so I can follow that. But what is your opinion of change orders, and is a phone message, a text, or an email? What do you recommend with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a lawyer, the thing I'm going to recommend is probably going to slow up the job, right? And so I'm going to recommend that, hey, once we know that there's a change in place, I mean, it should be documented into its own change order that is signed that describes the change to the price, the scope, and the time that effect on the job, and signed by both parties. I mean, that is the cleanest way to do it. But a lot of times in the field, you're moving kind of quickly. You're discussing the change with the owner right there on the job. Yeah, that sounds good. Do that instead. They're not going to stop everything to go back. So, certainly at the very least, you do need to document it in writing somehow as the contractor back to the owner. Hey, here's what, we agree to. If you're doing it in a text or an email, so be it. I mean, it's not the best idea, but, maybe it's at least it'll confirm it for now. And then you paper it into a legitimate change order as shortly after that as you possibly can. The other thing that we see, though, is lots of times for change orders, lots of contractors insist on being paid in full for the change order up front before they do the change order work, as opposed to, whatever the progress payments are for the rest of the job, or whether it's milestone payments or just, monthly kind of, progress payments. So that can get a little dicey for some homeowners, having to come out of pocket that much extra money, like in these chunks that, maybe they weren't expecting. And it kind of interrupts the flow of some of the other work that's going on, because maybe it delays some other milestone from getting hit because of this additional work you're doing now as the contractor. Your next payment is due after completion of the drywall, but now you can't complete the drywall, whatever that means, because now you've had to do something different with the staircase or whatever. It's just, it kind of throws the whole, a little monkey wrench into everything. So again, I think with a good contract, you can kind of allow for these things. And if everyone is above board and really wants to do the job the right way, and if you're dealing with people with integrity, you should be able to work through it.
Yeah, I actually had a contractor that I was working a lot with my business that I said, hey, talk to your attorney. Here's a great place to start. They built up a forum and he went out and just had notepads made of them. And they were just in everybody's trucks. So
Okay.
we could go in. I got it out in the truck. Hold on. And we're going to have to make a change. Cool. And he would just sit there, write it on the paper. And then, he would take pictures of it, take it back to the office. And, now there's programs with iPads and way better ways to do it. But back then it was hey, here's a paper trail. And at least they had something to work with. And then they would follow up with the copy of that in an email just to make sure that everybody had it. But that was kind of the perfect way to do it post, job site computer kind of thing. But, I think that's one of the things though, on the other side of that coin that we see is that, the poor contractors out there that underbid the job and then they make all their money back on the change orders.
Okay. Right.
They come in and go, hey, we were the low bidder by $30,000 on this project. At the time the homeowner's done with the project, they were $30,000 over what the highest bid was. And the contractor got the project because they underbid it and then change ordered them all the way through. Yeah. And that's the other flip side that you got to be careful with as a homeowner.
Oh, for sure. You shouldn't always go with the lowest bidder. Yeah. I've had clients who have contacted us and said, hey, I've got this project, I've paid like 225 out of the 250,000 to this guy, and he's not even close to being done, and then when we kind of get into that conversation about the other bids they received on the job, it was 450, it was 500. Well, what do you think was going to happen when you hire someone at 250? That's unfortunately, you didn't think about what was going to happen because you didn't know any better. And that's why you're getting advice. And this is, look, your home, for most people, your biggest asset, right? I mean, it's where you spend the most time. It's where you get out of the craziness of the world. And it's where you expect to enjoy your life and live it and experience all those memories. And to just leave it in the hands of someone you've done absolutely no vetting of, and that you've got, it's because, look, if things go as planned, you get what you expect. If they go poorly, it can set you back hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of misery. And so, take the extra time up front to make sure you're hiring the right person. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of the bigger things too. I recommend too, people that have no construction knowledge, if you need to hire an independent inspector to come in and take a look at stuff at a framing inspector, plumbing, pre-drywall, whatever, do it so you can figure that stuff out early and get it taken care of, because homeowners are expected, it seems, to understand everything. And the building department sometimes can be really subpar as finding those minimums. I mean, I've been working on a project with some friends, and for this complete remodel, I think the building inspection process all the way through from rough to finish, I think we timed it at 7 minutes of inspection time from the city. They didn't look at it. I was there for one of them. I was like, oh, looks good. Yeah. Off to the next one. And then there's others that come out and are checking everything. But I think it's really smart when you don't have the knowledge to hire the expert to spend that little extra more to go through and look at a significant project to make sure that things are getting done correctly and that those milestones are getting reached correctly.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the city inspectors, the county, the building inspectors, I mean, they're there to make sure the minimum standard of it meets code is met. And that's it. But that doesn't mean that, you've received that, you said you've hit the certain milestone for the payment, or that it's really up to, standard. So for that reason is why I separately have the construction advisory company, this Master Construction Advisors, with a general contractor who's a Florida certified master builder. And we help do owner's rep type of work or introduce people to owner's reps, somebody who not just to make sure that at inspection time things are up to snuff, but to really be the experienced professional in the room for you as your advocate, to be your eyes, your ears, and your mouthpiece. Because maybe you're custom building a $4, $5, $6 million home, and you've never done this before. Maybe you're a busy professional. You don't have time to supervise it. So you leave, my wife will take care of it. What does she know? She doesn't know either, right? Or you live in one state and you're building something in another state, or you're just used to having, you understand the value of a professional and that's what you want to do. That's what, there's such value in that. Yeah, your job probably needs to be of a certain size to withstand the extra expense of it. But the value is immeasurable.
Yeah, I had a friend, a former colleague I used to work with. I haven't talked to in a while, but They lived down in Florida, a couple. They had a new house built down. And of course, concrete block construction. You know, it was one of them by the largest home builders. There was so much of a bow in the master bathroom wall. They couldn't hang the mirror up on because it was flopping around on the wall because it was touching in the center and it was 3/4 of an inch on the edge. And it just kind of moved around because there was a 3-inch radius on the wall when they built it. It's not structural, not the plan really, but you know what I mean? Those are things that you really want them to go, hey, okay, building code is the D-. We want to get you up to a B.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that's what it's great for life safety and welfare, but there's other things that need to make sure that, you know, so you have a project that's going to withstand it. And the more technical homes get, the bigger it is with all of our, you know, water systems and, you know, ventilation and all these things. Every year our homes get, you know, by orders of magnitude, it seems more complex than they were a few years ago. So having somebody in there that understands all the systems and how they work and save you some headaches down the road when that contractor's long gone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, and it's the thing is, you know, I think those types of home builders, the ones who build up, you know, these 200 home communities and they just like every home one after the next. You know, a lot of people like to buy those types of homes because they think, all right, I don't have to deal with an old home. I don't have to deal with defects. I don't have to deal with mold. I don't have to deal with, and, you know, unfortunately, where we see a lot of those communities kind of fall flat a little bit, it tends to be most in the warranty work and in the warranty claims when they close and maybe they're not completely finished and there's, you know, a dozen things that are problems. And then, you know, you call up the builder gets their sub to go out there and, you know, the sub's like, that bow in the floor, no, that's normal. Give it 6 months. What do you mean it's normal? I mean, these people, these homeowners are made to feel like they're idiots and that they're just being completely disrespected by these builders and these subs who are trying to, you know, pull the wool over their eyes and sell them a false bill of goods. But there's a lot of buyer beware and it's really comes down to being a consumer protection issue in many ways, you know, with these contractors. So that's what, you know, we try to fight the good fight for those folks down here. Yeah,
and I think it's a good education. It's easy on social media. Find some of those people out. There's people out there with millions of follows, right? Jump on of the building inspectors or the construction inspectors on there and take a look what they're seeing in permitted new builds out there. And it's a rabbit hole you can jump down, but you'll get an education of what these guys do and what they can do for you. And it sounds like a commercial for them, but you really go, oh, wow, they caught that. And the inspector missed it. Wow. Okay. Right. And it's a big deal, you know, from broken trusses to cracked bathtubs and things like that are way harder to deal with later down the road.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's I've got a client who's building a house and, you know, for months, the builder left the trusses and other wood members just sitting in puddles of water on the property and, you know, is now framed a house. I mean, and there is mold all over it. And, you know, the client and trying to deal with the builder himself, the builder acknowledged it. They scrubbed a little bleach on some parts of it and that didn't really get it done. Of course, the builder finally said, you know what? It's a warranty issue. We'll deal with it later. And the owner's like, what are you talking about? How are you going to deal with it later? You're going to build everything else around it and we're going to have to rip it all apart to get back to no, absolutely not. So we're in a dispute now as a result of that. But yeah, it's a good dispute. Yeah, it is. So anyway, I mean, it's a little bit of the Wild West sometimes, you know, and you know, the more I'm, you know, glad you do what you do because, you know, the more education that we can give to these people out there, you know, hopefully it raises, you know, the tide raises all boats. So hopefully it, you know, just, increases the overall, you know, quality of the construction throughout. Absolutely. Well, Andy, we are running out of time. What is the best place for people out there to find you, whether they're a contractor trying to up their game or a homeowner that's like, I'm in knee deep in a mess. I need to get myself out of it. Yeah. So, you know, the name of my law firm is Wyman Legal Solutions with an S, and that's our website. So you can go right to our website and connect with us through there. We've got a fairly intelligent, you know, chat bot to start you out and get you, you know, directed to the right place in our firm. But otherwise, 561-361-8700. That's our number here at the office. I'm Andy, and my email address is andy@wymanlegalsolutions with an S at the end.com. So any of those ways. Andy, thanks for taking the time today, man. This is always a great education when we can bring experts like you to help educate everybody out there in the audience. Thank you, man. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I'm Eric G, and you've been listening to Around the House. Life is a love song. Let's be lovers. We're all over the
the radio. Take my hand, I know where to go. All over the radio with you.
Are you a contractor, landscaper, or small business owner? Are you tired of renting or pulling that worn-out trailer to the job site? Is that really the best look for your company? It's time to up your game and check out the trailers from Summit Trailer. If you want the highest quality trailer you can own, they are proudly made right here in Oregon with a dealer network all along the West Coast. What I love about my Summit trailer is that it's a dump trailer that was designed to work. I can load it up without having to worry about if it's going to be able to lift the load, and it pulls like a dream. This was built to work. So it doesn't matter if you want a dump trailer like mine or a deck over flatbed, tilt bed, or utility trailer. They got a trailer that'll fit your needs. Invest in your business with something you'll feel proud of, pulling up to any job site or your next project. Check out the best trailer in the West at summittrailermfg.com. Check out the dealer locator and find your nearest dealer at summittrailermfg.com.